Let's talk now about the pastor's role. The pastor's role in the soul winning club. Let's read the first phrase if we could. It is paramount that the pastor understand the soul winning club. He should know that its approach, the starting of the club, is much like Jesus did when he called his original 12 disciples. Jesus was willing to, and here's your blank, fill this in. Jesus was willing to invest himself in these men in order that they be trained. Let me say that again. Jesus was willing to invest himself in these men in order that they be trained to become personal soul winners. And in the foundation, that's a key word, and in the foundation of the work that he was doing. So it is with the pastor who recognizes his role in the building of men and women into personal soul winners. It is also very important, now pay close attention, listen to this, watch this on your sheet, on your outline here, fill this in. It is also very important that the pastor be involved in each soul winning club session, or make sure that, here's your blank, he is present. Make sure that he is present when the soul winning director leads it. The director and the pastor must, of course, share and here's your blank, the director and the pastor must, of course, share the same burden and passion for souls. Write that down. The same burden and passion for souls. Let me assure you that if the pastor has a heart for souls and the soul winning director does not much is going to take place. Let me also assure you that if the soul winning director has a heart for souls and the pastor does not much is going to happen. But if both the pastor and the soul winning director share the same heart and the same burden and the same passion for souls, my friend, great things can happen. Great things can happen. Lee Roberson said this, everything rises and falls on leadership. You've probably heard that before, and it's true. Everything rises and falls on leadership, and the soul winning director and the pastor must share the same burden and passion for souls. Let's talk next about building leaders. Building leaders. I'm sure if you were to talk to your pastor, perhaps as a pastor yourself, you were to examine your own life, you would see that one of the most important things in any local church is the building of your lay leadership. The building of your lay leadership. You know, a lot of times I've started 2 churches. I started one in Mount Vernon, Ohio, and I started the church I now pastor in North Atlanta, Georgia. And when you start a church, the pastor's got to do it all. Amen? The pastor has to preach. He has to lead the singing. He conducts the invitation. If there's no piano player, he leads a cappella singing. Amen. He gets to clean the building. He gets to vacuum the carpet. He gets to do all the inviting. He gets to do the bulletin. It goes on and on and on. And it's a lot of fun when you get started, but pretty quickly you begin to realize you need to train some leaders. You need to build some leaders. You know, the pastor's wife can't be in the nursery every single week. Amen? Now, when you just get started, that's one thing. But as you go and as you grow, my friend, we've got to build our leadership within the local church. Let's talk about building leaders. As a soul winning director, I have never known of a greater opportunity than the soul winning club to build leaders out of the church family. Let me give you that phrase again, then we'll talk about it. As a soul winning director, I have never known of a greater opportunity than the soul winning club to build leaders out of the church family. Imagine for a minute what would happen. Let's look at your outline, but let's talk about it also. Imagine what would happen if each deacon, Sunday school teacher, usher, and choir member would go through an intensive soul winning training course such as this. Not only would each one understand the heart of the church. Write that down. Not only would each one understand the heart of the church and their pastor, but they would have also received much instruction in other areas of ministry in the church and would correctly understand that all of these areas contribute to the operation of the ministry. Think about that for a minute. What if you could train your junior church director in soul winning? What if you could train your bus captains in soul winning? What if you could train every choir member in soul winning? Now, wouldn't it be an incredible thing? Now, it's true, these people may not go out and every single week, knock on doors, and you may not have a, 100 or 200 or 300 people out week cold calling. But what if you could train all of your lay leadership in soul winning, so that as each one of them left the four walls of the church, they would be on the lookout. They would be ready to be witnesses for Christ. They would have been trained in how to get on the subject. They would have been trained in what to say. They would have been trained in how to answer any objections. They would have been trained to give a good, clear presentation of the gospel. They'd have been trained how to take their new converts and bring them into the church. They'd have been trained the importance of getting that new convert baptized, getting the new convert to be joining the church, and getting the new convert into soul-winning training so that they could reach their lost friends and loved ones. I mean, building leaders is so important, and an integral part of that is a soul-winning club in the building of leaders within your church. Let's talk now, as we finish up our lesson, let's talk now about effective communication. Effective communication. In your notes, it says the director must understand. There's the word. The director must understand the soul-winning plan, so well that he can communicate all of its importance and procedures to the trainees, yet still be able to teach it in a simplistic manner. It is extremely important, we're continuing down the page, it is extremely important to use, here's two words I want you to write down. It is extremely important to use much repetition while teaching the 13-point plan in each session. He must do the same with the taking of assignments, the role of the trainer and trainee, and the entire, here's your phrase now, write this down, the entire importance of soul winning in general. Let's talk about that for a minute. The director has got to understand the 13-point plan. Just like the choir director's got to understand what a treble clef and what a bass clef are. I mean, you've got to understand what it is you're training the people in. If you don't know it, if you heard it a few minutes ago from Dr. Wood for the very first time, hey, go back and watch that section of the video several times. In your Operation Go kit, which we'll be talking more about in the sessions to come. In your Operation Go kit, there's a section within it that has 3 or 4 pages of the 13-point plan in soul winning actually in use in a conversation that you can read over and read over and read over and let it become a part of you. We always get a kick when we go to churches that have Operation Go and use our soul winning materials because they'll walk up and they'll say to Dr. Wood, they'll say, hey, I was on step number 4, and immediately we know exactly where he was in the plan. Or they'll talk about the fact that they were dealing with someone, and when they got to step number 11, they had some difficulty in the transitional statements, and we'll know exactly what we're talking about. The 13-point plan is just that. It's a plan. It's not a magic formula. It's not a cure-all for all the social ills that we have, but I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a way to take the gospel and present it to someone, to get on the subject, to lead them to Christ, to be obedient to the Great Commission. And I guarantee you one thing, if you don't already have a plan for soul winning, our plan is a whole lot better than your plan. Amen? So I want to encourage you, be familiar with the 13-point plan. Don't be afraid to use, as the paragraph says there, don't be afraid to use much repetition. I know that if you've learned the 13-point plan, and a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, you've been training it over and over and over again, and you've got someone that's just been saved that joins your Operation Go Soul Winning Club, and they come into your club, and you begin talking to them and training them in the 13-point plan. I know that it's not new to you, but it's new to them. Do not be afraid. Please don't be afraid to use a lot of repetition. In fact, in some of my preaching in my own church, I use part of the 13-point plan in my invitation. I use part of the 13-point plan in my messages. It just becomes a part of who you are. It oozes out of you. The 13-point plan is so important. Make sure you know it, and don't be afraid to use repetition. You've got to take the role of the trainer and trainee into account and realize that they are so important that they mesh together, and that the trainer is training the trainee, and the trainee is in fact learning from his trainer. Let's look at the last paragraph in this lesson, if we could. It begins like this. Effective communication between the pastor and the soul-winning director is also a must, or the club will not grow and produce. Each session gives the pastor, and here's the blank now, each session gives the pastor an excellent opportunity to build church loyalty. Wouldn't it be nice to have more loyalty in our churches? Amen. Do you know what makes the most loyal church member most of the time? Someone who's been saved as a result of the ministry of that church. excellent opportunity to build church loyalty, to stir up a wholesome spirit of excitement. Write down that word, excitement. You know, what could be more exciting? Think about your family for a minute. What is the most exciting thing when you get together at Thanksgiving or Christmas or family reunions during the summertime? It's always the new births that have happened. Perhaps a cousin has had a new baby, or someone you know has had a new grandbaby, and boy, they just want to show that baby off. I mean, this 10-pound ball of flesh that does nothing but cry and wet its diaper. Boy, it's cute, isn't it? And everybody wants to see it and hold it and coo with it and feel it and hug it. It's an incredible thing how important that baby is to that family. And it brings a sense of excitement and growth to that family. Think about how important new converts are to your church. Think about how much excitement there would be if every single week you'd have new converts coming down the aisle. They've been saved the week before, and now they're coming down the aisle each and every week, and you're seeing people baptized each and every week. My friend, that is what the local church is about. That creates a level of excitement that just doesn't slip away quickly. So we continue in the paragraph. Each session gives the pastor an excellent opportunity to build church loyalty, to stir up a wholesome spirit of excitement, and to address all key areas. Write the word down, key. To address all key areas in the church ministry so that his people develop a spirit of oneness. Think about it. As you're training in soul winning, you're training your leaders. As you're training in soul winning, you're helping people in their efforts to be witnesses for Christ, to be obedient to the Great Commission. I hope that you've enjoyed this lesson. As we begin session number 2, we're going to talk about some exciting things for reaching our world for Jesus Christ.